Not too long ago, Identity 5 fans got some exciting news, especially those of you who main Bloody Queen. The game just announced the Sherlock Holmes Crossover Part 2, and this time, our elegant hunter is getting a makeover. Yep, she's getting a brand new skin, Irene Adler. From the teaser alone, Bloody Queen looks absolutely stunning in this crossover. The thing is, not everyone actually knows who Irene Adler is. So today, we're going to talk about her. Who is Irene Adler in the Sherlock Holmes universe? Why was she chosen to represent Bloody Queen? When will this skin be available? And most importantly, how do we get it? Will it be echoes only, or can we also buy it with fragments? The Conan Doyle estate crossover, more commonly known as the Sherlock Holmes collab, is a special crossover between Identity 5 and the Conan Doyle estate, which basically brings the world of Sherlock Holmes into IDV. Now, the Conan Doyle estate itself is an organization formed by the family of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the author who created Sherlock Holmes. Their job is to manage and promote his legacy. Everything from the rights and licensing of his works to collaborations for adaptations, merch, and projects like this. Thanks to them, Doyle's works have reached audiences all over the world, and, of course, Sherlock Holmes has become the most famous of all. The crossover officially began in February 2025, though it was teased a few months earlier. It introduced beloved characters from the Sherlock Holmes universe: Sherlock himself, Dr. Watson, Inspector Lestrade, James Moriarty, and more. This event was based on the classic novel The Hound of the Baskervilles and followed Orpheus taking on the role of Sherlock as he worked to solve a mysterious case involving a painting. If you're curious about that full storyline, I've actually made a separate summary video you can check out. But the collab didn't stop there. Recently, Identity 5 announced the next part of the Conan Doyle estate crossover, featuring a new skin for Bloody Queen, Irene Adler. Now, fans of Sherlock Holmes probably recognize that name, but for those of you who don't worry. In the next segment, I'll walk you through who Irene Adler is and why she's such an important figure in the Holmes universe. Irene Adler comes from one of Arthur Conan Doyle's short stories called A Scandal in Bohemia. Fun fact, she only appears in that single story. Sure, later adaptations and spin-offs feature her a lot, but in the original works by Doyle, Irene shows up just once. And yet, that one appearance was enough to leave a lasting impression. Fans and readers still remember her as the woman. To Sherlock Holmes himself, Irene Adler was special. But why? What makes her stand out so much? Well, the short answer is simple. She outsmarted Sherlock Holmes at his own game. That's a big deal when you consider Holmes is supposed to be the smartest guy in the room. So, how does the story unfold? Let's break it down. The tale begins with Sherlock Holmes being hired for a very delicate case. A European king is about to marry a woman of royal blood, but he's terrified that a secret from his past might ruin everything. Years ago, he had an affair with a famous opera singer and actress, none other than Irene Adler. Problem is, Adler has proof, a photograph of the two of them together. If that photo were ever made public, the king's reputation and his marriage plans would collapse instantly. Holmes takes on the job and uses his usual bag of tricks. He puts on disguises, first as a stable boy, then as a clergyman, gathers information, and finally sets up a scheme involving fireworks. Through this trick, he figures out where Irene hides the photograph. It looks like a perfect victory for him, but then the truth reveals itself. Irene had already figured him out all the time. When Holmes, Watson, and the king show up the next morning to secure the photo, they find her house completely empty. Adler has already left England. All she leaves behind is a letter. In it, she reveals that she recognized Holmes in disguise during the fire trick. With the help of her new husband, Godfrey Norton, she realized the king would never stop coming after the photo. So, she and Norton decided to leave the country immediately, taking the photograph with them. Still, Adler makes it clear she has no plans to harm the king. She doesn't want to ruin him, and she feels no bitterness. Instead, she keeps the photograph as insurance, a protection device to make sure no one can interfere with her life again. She explains her marriage with Norton is real, and what she wants now is independence and security. The king is stunned, but relieved. The scandal won't be exposed, and his engagement is safe. He praises Holmes, but Holmes knows the truth. He's been beaten. Outplayed not by an arch-criminal, not by Moriarty, but by a woman who saw through him from the very beginning. And that's why she earns the title The Woman. Not a lover, not an enemy, but someone Holmes respects for her intelligence, courage, and quick thinking. For a man who prides himself on being the smartest in every room, that respect is rare. From then on, Holmes refers to Irene Adler simply as the woman. And that's it. That's her entire role in the original Sherlock Holmes stories. But what's fascinating is how her influence goes way beyond that one short story. In countless adaptations, novels, movies, TV shows, Irene Adler keeps coming back. Sometimes she's portrayed as Holmes's love interest, sometimes as a rival, sometimes both. And yes, some of these modern takes spark controversy, since they go far beyond what Doyle originally wrote. Still, no matter the version, Irene always carries the same aura: mystery, intelligence, and strength. She's the one character who could stand toe-to-toe with Sherlock Holmes and actually win. And now, thanks to the Identity 5 crossover, she's stepping into the manor as well. But here's the big question. Why give Irene Adler's skin to Bloody Queen? Honestly, if you ask me why the Bloody Queen was chosen to represent Irene Adler, I can't really say for sure. I mean, both of them are stunning, elegant characters, and Irene's background as an opera singer means she often interacted with high-class society, so I kind of get the connection there. But when you think about it more deeply, it does feel a little confusing. On one hand, Irene Adler was literally an opera singer, so wouldn't it make more sense to give that role to the game's actual opera singer, Sangria? That part still doesn't make much sense to me. Another thing is that Irene Adler once had a relationship with the King of Bohemia, basically royalty. And when you think about it, Mary, the Bloody Queen, also has a romantic history with nobility. She even married one. So, maybe that's one similarity the devs wanted to highlight. What's also interesting is that both women deal with prejudice, but in completely different ways. Irene challenged the social norms of her time. She stood up against what people expected from women back then. Mary, on the other hand, became a victim of prejudice. The kind of judgment they faced was very different too. Irene was judged for her independence and cleverness, while Mary's story revolves around the stigma of an affair. If I had to guess, maybe Mary was chosen simply because of her popularity. Let's think about it. Popular characters in Identity 5 tend to get more crossover skins, since those are the ones people are more likely to buy. And Mary? She's definitely one of the fan favorites. So, yeah, this is mostly speculation on my part, but honestly, I still can't find a clear reason why Mary was chosen to represent Irene Adler in this crossover. Maybe it's symbolism, maybe it's marketing, or maybe it's just another mystery for us to solve. Now that we've got all the info, here's the exciting part, the Conan Doyle crossover. Part 2 is coming soon. It'll officially start on the 6th of November 2025 and will likely run for about a month, just like the previous crossover. Along with this event, the previous crossover skins from Part 1 will also make a return. You'll be able to get them again through the crossover essences. Yep, they're bringing those back. So for all the Sherlock Holmes fans, or, well, the whales among us, you might want to start saving up your echoes. However, there are a few exceptions. The journalist's S-tier skin Miss Watson and the 221B Baker Street lobby room won't be available through essences, just like how they were. Those will still be echoes-only items. Now, let's talk about the main highlight of this crossover. Bloody Queen's new S-tier skin, Irene Adler. Similar to Alice's S-tier skin from the first crossover, this one will also be available for purchase with echoes. There'll also be a special package that includes both the Irene Adler skin and her exclusive accessory called Final Salute. That's not really surprising, since the main prize of most crossover events usually comes as an echoes-only deal. The good news is, if you grab the full package skin plus accessory, there's often a discount included. For example, the previous Alice S-tier package cost over 3,000 echoes, but during certain promo periods, there was a 31% discount, which was a pretty good deal for collectors. But hey, if you're not the type to spend real money on in-game items, don't worry. There are still some free rewards you can grab, just by joining the event. By participating in the crossover story, players can get freebies, like a Bloody Queen portrait themed after Irene Adler, 10 crossover essences, and even a B-tier skin for Nightwatch, called the King of Bohemia. Yep, the king himself is making an appearance this time too. And that's pretty much everything we know so far about the Conan Doyle Estate crossover Part 2. So what do you think? Are you excited to see Irene Adler finally arrive in Identity V? Personally, I can't wait to see how she looks in-game. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.